Okay, hello everybody. Today's date is October 20th, 2021, and my name is Leslie Williams. I'm making this video today in order to share tidbits of information that is very relevant, that always should be, that always has the innate need to be exposed. So here we go. Now, what's going to be exposed in this video, consider this and consider this very carefully. When you go to Google, I suggest you get a pen and piece of paper and write down my descriptions. When you go to Google and research at Google how gang stalking victims are being intentionally, with complete malice of forethought, criminal intent, conspiracy, collusion, aiding and abetting, and much, 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 much more. When you research how gang stalking victims are being intentionally, criminally, falsely diagnosed with mental health maladies, mental health illnesses, you will come to the conclusion that is part of the gang stalking program. Now we're literally talking about when you type that in, false mental diagnoses and gang stalking, false mental diagnoses and organized stalking. Look at how many Google generated responses you get first, then look at how many posts that you concerning the numeric amount of responses that Google will show you. You can also type in targeted individuals and false mental diagnoses as well, because targeted individuals, TI, is another. It's a name that's been put on the gang stalking victim, and it's widely used. Oh, absolutely. So now the reason why I'm bringing that to your attention is because we are literally dealing with the most sick, depraved, demented, demonic crime that has ever been perpetrated against the human family in the entire history of the human family. So you need to look at what could be worse than the Holocaust. Well, gang stalking program in itself is a Holocaust. Absolutely. It's just a silent Holocaust. So just trust me when I say, sweethearts and munchkin butts, go into this YouTube account, watch my videos, research my descriptions thoroughly and extensively with a mature, patient posture, and you will come to know truth. You should also understand and know this crime stretches into every facet of life. Trillions of dollars have been spent in its creation, its implementation, the money used to protect it, and any enhancements that have been incorporated within the program up to this date and counting. So now the reason why I brought that initial issue up was because if you are a very experienced victim of this crime, while also having vast amounts of massive educated knowledge concerning this crime through years and years and years of patient, exhaustive, extensive research, then you become massively educated concerning this crime. So when you take a victim who's got massive, we're talking about even up to and over 2 decades of nonstop experience, okay, including every day, including everywhere you go and everywhere you live, then that same victim has got at least 18, not 18, let's just say since 2009, the victim has extensively, massively, in-depthly, meticulously researched this crime online, and we're talking about massive research. Well, then you take the knowledge from the research and you fold it onto the experience, and you'll see massive tie-ins. We're talking about probably at least 97% tie-ins to the experience. So we know, educated gang stalking victims know, that this crime will go to any and all lengths to achieve any and all aspects of it, and go to any and all lengths to protect it. And claiming a gang stalking victim is mentally ill is one of the biggest things that they do. So if you get online and you make certain descriptions in a YouTube video or on Facebook or what have you, and you say that these wild animals are committing this crime in specific ways, including especially in ways that they know you can't prove, they will look for a normal apparent excuse concerning why they know that exposure is online, stage an event, bring you before court, bring you before a doctor in court ordered, bring you before a doctor in jail, use the court to claim that you need to get testing, and then use your statements against you, call you mentally ill. This is literally how bad gang stalking is. Now we're talking about completely healthy, totally sane people that they're doing this to. Now, and before I segue into the subject matter, consider this as well. The people who host this crime they are literally the most depraved, criminally insane wild maggots that have literally ever walked this planet. I have witnessed scientists, doctors, researchers, professors, and tens of thousands of educated victims say the same exact identical to a T thing. Make no mistake about it. Okay? They're the most demonic, depraved, demented wild animals that have ever walked this planet. Okay? They make Jeffrey Dahmer and Hitler look like a choir boy. That's how sick these sick fucks are. Make no mistake about it. So anyways, when a gang stalking victim wants to expose certain things, whether it is happening to them or not, maybe it's something that they've ran across on the internet several times as a result of other victims exposing it. But let's say, for instance, that they may be experiencing it. They can creatively expose it without claiming they're personally enduring it. Because remember, if you state that you're enduring something, especially something they know you can't prove, they will go to any and all lengths, literally, okay, to claim that they know these exposures online, force you to see a doctor, and then boom. Because that's what these sadistic whores do. Okay? So, let me segue into the subject matter. Yeah. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak to you a little bit about what is known as the computer-to-brain link, the computer-to-brain feedback loop. So, you need to listen very, very close to my statements. The computer-to-brain feedback loop, the computer-to-brain link, remote neural monitoring. You should also research memory mapping and memory stimulation. You should also research the creation of false memories connected to remote neural monitoring. Now, I'll just explain a couple things to you real fast so you can kind of incorporate this in your eventual conclusion, because this information is part of what you need to know. So when we look at how human beings experience life through our senses and our perceptions and our relationships and so on in our environments, as we go through our daily activities, daily environments, and so on and so forth, we see things that then can eventually become what is known as anchored memories. Now, anchored memories can be created concerning visual memories and auditory memories. Case in point, let me give you a fast example. Say if you get married on June 1st, 1980, and your wedding song is Endless Love. Then you get in your car on April 2nd, 20 years later, you turn on the radio and Endless Love is playing on the radio. Your brain will instinctively, immediately start, remembering your wedding day visually. Now, the reason why that is, and I know I've used that example in quite a few of my videos, is because your wedding day is one of the biggest hallmarks of your life. There's a lot of emotion connected to it. Happy, joy, and so on and so forth. It's a big, huge milestone in most people's lives. So, whenever we have relationships is one of the biggest things that creates visual and auditory memory. Now, so 20 years down the road, you get in your car and you turn on your radio and you hear the song Endless Love. 20 years after your wedding date, it's going to instantly stimulate those visual memories of your wedding day, including possibly with, they're called memory sets, including possibly with some very short, vague auditorial memories as well. Now, you'll understand why I'm exposing this here in a second, but I need you to hold on just 1 second. Hold on. Crap. I'm trying to light a cigarette because I'm taking a break as I make this video. So let me give you another example. Now, these examples are absolutely necessary for you to hear. So when you hear my follow-up statements, you'll be able to see the contents, the context of the subject matter by listening to those statements and then taking those statements pertaining to their meaning and folding it back onto these examples so you can see how it applies. And now, hold on 1 second. So, let me give you another example about how. So, your wedding day would be usually, I'd say at least 99% of the time, your wedding day your wedding memories is awesome. So that you can consider those joyful and happy memories. But let's take a look at the brain concerning memories that wouldn't be so great. Okay. Now, in gang stalking crimes, these little sick satanic rats, what they will do is create what is known as staged events, because staged events can lead into episodic memory creation. when you listen to the term episodic memory can entail. If you look at if you turn on your TV and you watch a bunch of different TV shows, well, most people when they watch TV shows, they'll say, "What TV episodes are on TV?" And that's because it's a short story. And what do we do when we watch TV? When we watch a TV episode? Well, we're watching people play out visual and verbal theatrics in order to play out a storyline. And then at the end of the episode, we come to a conclusion based on what the storyline is, right? And as we're watching this TV show, our brain takes in any and all nuances, okay, body gestures related to the theme and context of what you might be seeing and hearing, in environments that are also remembered too, because a lot of times in movies and TV shows, the environment can even be incorporated within our understanding. So we end up calling TV shows episodes, and that's because it's usually a hour long TV show, okay, that plays out a storyline. Well, episodic memories are usually is something that's created during an event. Now, what happens during an event? Okay, what happens during an event is that we can experience things visually and verbally, auditorily. Now, that's what episodic memory means. So, say if you go and you watch a 3-round boxing match at a stadium, and you watch it from the first to the end of the third match, then what you're taking in is a event. And you're seeing the physical actions play out. You're seeing any type of sound and verbal statements maybe that you're exchanging between fellow spectators and maybe somebody you're with. That can be considered an episodic memory, because when you leave that stadium and 2 years down the road, when you might be talking about with somebody you know, your brain is going to reference memories based on that event. What gang stalking crimes will do is they will stage events. And when they stage events, what they will do is they will play out verbal and physical theatrics, because they want the person to see certain things and hear certain things, okay? So that they can be anchored in the victim's mind for memory referencing, for the sake of remote neural monitoring, memory mapping, and memory stimulation, in order to force the brain to constantly re-experience it at the unconscious, subconscious, preconscious, and conscious level. So, let me give you an example. Say if you're brutally assaulted, okay? Pain. You can also have pain signal memories as well. Trauma memories can also play a role in this. Traumatic memories. So, say if you are a victim of this crime and you get assaulted, that becomes an episodic memory. Now, when an episodic memory takes place, the brain will store aspects of that event, visually and auditorial, pertaining to what happened from beginning to end concerning the event itself. And usually when a person experiences a trauma, what the brain will do is automatically go into a disassociated state, okay, and then kind of like take in everything that's experienced through the trauma and shove it into the unconscious mind in order to protect itself from the consciousness being overloaded by the trauma. And that's how post-traumatic stress is actually created. But what you need to understand is that on subsequent dates, the brain will try and kick back sections of that event back into the conscious mind, so that the brain can start to deal with it by pieces. So it's not overwhelming the brain by flowing it back up through the conscious area of the mind all at once. So that's why you have a lot of war veterans will come back and say, today was a bad day. I experienced about 15, 20, 40 flashbacks. Flashbacks would be just very brief moments of the event. And gang stalking crimes, what these little sadistic whores will do is they will stage brutal assaults, including rapes, and then everything that the victim sees and witnesses, okay, can be memory mapped by remote neural monitoring and then intentionally forced back into the unconscious, subconscious, preconscious, and conscious mind of the victim, including hundreds of times a day. Now, one of the reasons why this is done, which is an extremely intrusive reason why this is done, is because when the brain is re-experiencing a visual memory, okay, especially if it's a trauma memory, the brain will kick right back into a disassociated state while creating visual entrainment. because the brain is still processing the visual imagery. So every time the brain is forced to re-experience visual imagery and the emotions connected to the event and the brain states and even the disassociated state that the victim was in during the event, what that does is create visual entrainment connected to brain states, connected to emotions, in order to connect it to a disassociated state, in order to create entrainment to a disassociated state, in order to keep the brain in a non-stop trauma disassociated state with visual imagery, visual entrainment. So imagine being forced to experience a brutal assault. Say if you were treated like shit by one of your parents or your siblings throughout most of your, let's just say, teenage years. These wild, filthy horrors, what they'll do is memory map that shit and stimulate it and force the victim's mind to reprocess it hundreds of times a day. Do you ever wonder why 22 veterans are killing themselves every day? The computer-to-brain link, the computer-to-brain feedback loop. Artificial intelligence, it's a supercomputer. Okay? Concerning what they're doing to gang stalking victims who are reported to be experiencing this sick shit. Which is why when they stage an event, they will also play out verbal theatrics. That way they can create visual and auditorial brain entrainment to the disassociated state. Okay? So I wanted to bring this to your attention, my fellow American citizens, because what ends up happening is that the brain is only allowed to experience trauma, abuse, victimization, because this is only one aspect of the gang stalking crime. Imagine your brain being forced to process visual imagery, okay, that's nothing but abuse and victimization 300 times a day, and then when you go out and about in the community, including when you wake up, including the second you wake up, because what do you think the computer-brain link is? Where the brain is literally linked up to a computer. And then what these little sick satanic whores will do is program the computer. Once it has memory mapped certain memories, it will harvest those memories, visual memories, and it will literally put it within the software program that's within the supercomputer. And then when the computer recognizes that the brain is waking up, because your brain, when research it, I forgot which one it is, but there are certain brain states when you're asleep. It's either theta, beta, or alpha, or delta. I think it's delta, actually. So the computer is able to determine when the brain is unconscious, sleeping, and then it's able to determine when it's coming out of that specific brain state in the wake-up process, and then when the victim's brain actually wakes up. So when the victim's brain actually wakes up, the computer is recognizing that the brain waves are waking up into that specific brain state. So they'll program the computer to force the brain to instantly start experiencing traumatic memories, they're forcing the brain to reprocess them over and over and over again the second the victim wakes up. So check this out. What I want you to do is I want you to go to YouTube search box and type in at YouTube search box United Targeted Individuals Europe Extended Version. Let me repeat that. United Targeted Individuals Europe Extended Version. That's the name of the video. Now, that video came from the original website of UnitedTargetedIndividualsEurope.com. And individuals is with an S. It's plural. Okay? Now, what you're going to see in part in that particular video is you're going to see many things. Research everything you see to gang stalking, everything. I'm going to point out two specific things from that particular video. The first thing I want to point out is where you'll see some text on your monitor. That's part of the video. It's just a written statement, and it will say, "Shh, is she awake yet?" Okay, and then you'll see additional dialogue where it appears somebody is saying something to somebody who's waking up. What that is voice to skull. Where the victim's brain is being monitored, they see the brain is waking up, so as soon as the brain goes from one state to the other, as the victim is waking up, boom, the computer is programmed to immediately start abusing the victim with voice to skull upon awakening. Okay? So, imagine your brain being forced to experience 300 stimulated traumatic memories every day, where the brain is forced to process the entire memory. Okay. And then imagine even being mocked about it as the brain is enduring it through V2K and voice morphine and or V2K, voice to skull. Then you go out and about in the community and a bunch of sick little useful idiots and demonic maggots who are used with the community-based gang stalking will verbally abuse you, at least overtly around you, concerning you. And then imagine enduring this after you've been made homeless through this crime intentionally. Imagine enduring this while you're enduring all those things while you're being tortured with electromagnetic weapons, directed energy weapons, extremely high levels of ultrasonic sound bone conduction torture. They will literally pit a gang stalking victim into a life of nothing but non-stop, constant abuse and trauma every single second of the day, every day in and day out, even when they sleep. Go to Google and research at Google remote neural monitoring electronic artificial synthetic dreams. And it's being reported by tens of thousands of victims that 99.9% of all of these different types of electronic synthetic dreams, which is nothing but extremely sophisticated visual software that's got the ability to have audio attached to it, just as sophisticated as the best made movie that's ever been made to this date. That's how sophisticated their technology is. Okay, where victims are stating that the type of experiences within these types of synthetic within these types of synthetic electronic dreams directly connected to remote neural monitoring are nothing but abuse, trauma, seeing other people being abused and traumatized. Okay, imagine waking up with your brain being cooked from directed energy weapons and electromagnetic weapons as you sleep. So these filthy, satanic, mass-murdering, criminally insane, wild, maggot, rat-ass animal horrors that commit this crime make up the entire life of the victim as nothing but extreme abuse, trauma, victimization. And this is also done in order to create so that the brain only experiences abuse and victimization non-stop every day. Okay? They're intentionally being forced to view an altered form of reality because we all take in our reality through our environment, what we see, what we hear, what we experience, how we're treated. Okay? The community-based gang stalking is a construct propped up within your environments so that the environments can be overtly used as nothing but a non-stop form of clever, overt abuse, sometimes staged events. And then you experience all these other things non-stop every single fucking day, including when you're sleeping. So it is my intention to expose the wild, filthy horrors that are implicated in managing and hosting this crime from the top down. The United States military, the DOD, the DIA, the CIA, the NSA, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, fusion centers, state, county, and local police, hospitals, doctors, medical clinics, medical centers, and make no fucking mistake about it, they just don't care. They'll fucking do this kind of shit to an infant that can't even crawl yet. Just so that when the mother or father notices that the infant is probably being targeted in the way they are, that's done to heighten the mental torture of the parent. I make these videos to inform, to expose truth. Do you ever wonder why 22 veterans are killing themselves every day? Okay, so research remote neural monitoring. I literally got audio files on this tape recorder right here that show people who have done over 20 years of research openly exposing the sick, sadistic shit that is put in the visual cortex and audio cortex of gang stalking victims, okay, through remote neural monitoring. These wild, sadistic, filthy, criminally insane, mass murdering, raping, gang raping, human trafficking animals need to be seen for what they are, because that's all they are. Have a good day, everybody.